This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 34 of the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network. Polo, what is a chukker anyway? We would like to thank our sponsor, Equestrian Collections. Equestrian Collections brings the whole universe of equestrian shopping to your fingertips. You can visit them at equestriancollections.com.
Welcome to the Stable Scoop, with weekly shows delivered right to you. With Helena and Glenn the Geek, live from the stable, it's every week. They bring you the news through hail or high water, while using their tails as their own fly swatters. So sit on down and laugh till you poop, cause it's time again for Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop.
This is Glenn the Geek.
And this is Helena B. And you're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show.
Well, Helena, hello there.
Hello. How are you this week?
All right. So you went horse shopping over the weekend. Any luck?
Well, that depends on how you define luck.
Did you buy a horse?
I did not buy a horse,
Okay.
Which could be a lucky thing. I don't know.
Your husband would think so.
I've been trying to take a look at this one particular horse in New York for a couple of weeks now, and things just aren't working out. However, I do want to give a shout out to Chris and Erica over at Canaan Center Farm in East Chatham, New York. We went to go look at a couple of their horses this weekend, and I just have to say that Erica runs a fabulous barn. I think she has great horse care and stable management philosophy, and their horses are just lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Nothing fancy, but so well done. And they were great hosts to me and my friends as we were trying their horses. So,
What was the name of the farm again?
Canaan Center Farm.
Canaan Center Farm. Well, there's a
Yep.
shout out to
In East Chatham. That's the of Albany area up on the border of Massachusetts and New York. So that was they made it fun. You know, it's when you're horse shopping, it's really hard. But when you run into nice people and well taken care of horses, it's actually a pleasure to shop.
Great.
So, yeah. And, hey, I sent around a YouTube link to a video of Ledyard in 1975. It was the US Open Eventing Championships. Did you see that?
Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, my wife and I watched it this morning. And for those that don't know, my wife used to work with you up at the Myopia Hunt Club. She was the barn manager there, and you were there as well. And this is a video of Ledyard is the farm adjacent to Myopia, right, in the backside.
Right. We share some territory.
Yeah, so Ledyard Farm also used to be the home of the USEF. Is that right? Was it Ledyard?
The Ledyard was host to some of it was basically like the birthplace of American eventing, I guess.
Right, so they used to have the big events. Then this video, I'm surprised somebody found this, was from 1975. Amazing.
Yeah.
The differences, too. What did you see about the differences? I know Jennifer kept looking for places she's ridden before. And that one hill, she said that hill is like straight down. And these people were going like 90 miles an hour down that hill.
I won't even trot down that hill when we hunt through there. You can see some spots that, you know, a lot of the cross-country course is still intact. And there's still some folks go and do cross-country schooling there.
Well, Ledyard is a private farm, right, now?
Yes, it's a private farm, and there's a business that's run out of there called Oakwood Equine, I think. I'd have to double-check on that. But Fariel Johnson is the trainer there, and she's quite an accomplished rider, eventer, and fox hunter herself. But Ledyard Farm, and it's so nice because it still belongs to the Eyre family. A lot of people may know, a lot of eventers may know Neil Eyre. And they're so generous with their property because so many people just ride through there. We either hack, we hunt, we school through there. So it's still a hub of the horse community up here in the North Shore of Boston. But to see oh my gosh, to see the excitement that this huge event was held there kind of in our backyard was really cool.
Wow, and the clothing. I mean, just the clothing and the outfits and just everything about it. It was old school sort of filming like you would see in a movie theater as a pre-trailer. It was it's very well done, the little piece, actually. And
Yeah.
the film's
And the
kinda
riding
grainy.
was amazing. The riding was absolutely
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
It was so fast and so flowy, and it looks so effortless. I think today's eventing, the cross country courses, it just sometimes looks so
Well, they're much more
complicated.
they're much more technical than they used to be. They used to be more wide open, and now they're all these. They're just more technical features in them. And that's one of the conversations. I do the eventing radio show too, and it's one of the conversations that the riders always have, especially the old time riders. Is when you look at this video, though, that you truly appreciate how open the courses were. There weren't a lot of flowers or frills, or it was just flat out cross country.
Yeah.
And really open. You really truly appreciate it here too.
It was yeah, it actually made me want to get out and go event.
Right.
It was inspiring. But I think too, I posted this link on the Chronicle
Oh, did you?
of the Horse and Forums, just because I mean, come on, there's an entire eventing forum there. How could they not love this? And a lot of people had said they wish that today's cross country courses rode the way that one did.
Right.
Open and flowy and fast, and I thought that was sort of a common theme between I wish for that kind of riding again, that back in the people who were around long enough to know what that course rode like were sort of pining for the old days.
Back in the Roads and Tracks days, which there is a series now being put together to bring back some of the old time Roads and Tracks events where you actually did the whole thing, not the abbreviated version of cross country anymore.
That's what I figured. Great, just in time for me to get started in eventing.
Yeah.
They're going to make it really hard.
That's right. So they're bringing that back in a series of I think it's 6 events around the country that still have the ground and the land to do it. Are going to
That's
be
a good point,
Yeah.
to have the ground and the land. And somebody had said about this particular video, it's interesting to see how they used the natural terrain of the course to ask those questions of the horse and rider combinations, whereas
Like that
today's
90-degree hill.
oh god. But there's just not as much open space to do that, I think,
Right.
these days. So, in defense of some of the more contemporary course designers, you have to work with what open space you have, and sometimes it's not as challenging as what you saw in that video at Ledyard 30 years ago.
Well, this show is about polo, not eventing, but it was a great video. And at the beginning of every show, we like to tell people about something cool we found in the previous week, and this is really cool. We're going to post it on our show notes at stablescoop.com. So if you want to see this video from Ledyard in 1975 U.S. Open Eventing Championships, check it out at stablescoop.com. Also want to mention, Helena, we have a new affiliate now carrying all the shows on the network, and that is called 4FORequestrians.com. It's your resource for everything equestrian. They actually, if you go to their website, you'll see the links at the top there. They have one called Radio, and they're now carrying all the radio shows on their website. It's sort of an everything portal kind of website, horse training, horse sales, equestrian news, English riding, and that kind of thing. They just have everything on there. It's sort of an all-around portal site. And she was very kind. She wanted to carry the show, and we worked it out. And she has the episodes up there now. So we appreciate her picking up the Horse Radio Network.
Great.
And we also want to mention Equestrian Life, our social network. Don't forget to go over there and sign up. It's free, and you can comment on our shows there, have discussions with other listeners, and that all can be done at equestrianlife.com. It's the Facebook for horse people. Also, don't forget to sign up. We have lots of stuff not to forget this morning.
Yeah, I know. I'm listening to you because I'm like, what am I going to forget?
You're going to forget all of it, probably. We have our giveaway. That's one thing you don't want to forget because you can win stuff. It's free. It's easy. You just go register, and at the end of every month, we do a drawing, and we give stuff away.
And this month we have... This is Equestrian Collections Month, isn't it?
Rather, two things. We have Equestrian Collections and Easy Signs Online.
Oh, right. Okay.
So Equestrian Collections has given us a $75 gift certificate. You can buy anything you want at equestriancollections.com. And as you know, they're our newest sponsor. We spoke to Chris last week. And Equestrian Collections brings the whole universe of equestrian shopping to your fingertips. Over $100 million of product available any given day. So, yeah, I know. Go over. You're only allowed to spend $75, not $100 million. But
no. You can take the $75 and apply it to a larger purchase if you want.
That's correct. Up to
Come on, Glenn, you're talking to tack addicts here.
So sign up for that, and also our friends at EasySignsOnline.com have donated 3 custom stall plates. These are little plates you put on your stall. It has your horse's name on it. They also could have your dog's name on it, or your name of your room, your bedroom, or whatever you want. And they'll be personalized. You can pick your colors. You can pick what you want on them. And they're very nice. And, of course, Equestrian Collections is known as being the leading farm sign company in America. They are by far the leader. You can see on their website at EasySignsOnline.com. They do all shapes and sizes and colors of signs, and they have examples of hundreds of them that they've done from across the country, from the simplest to the fanciest. So you can check them out. We appreciate both Equestrian Collections and Easy Signs donating those products for this month's giveaway. Don't forget to stop to Stable Scoop. Follow the link on the right-hand side of the page and register. You have to re-register every month. Don't forget that. So sign up this month.
Okay.
So finally we get to what's on today's show.
Yeah, that was a mouthful, Glenn. You poor thing.
I know. I went through that whole thing.
This is why I'm co-host.
I'm taking a break now. It's your turn.
Okay. Today's show, we are going to be talking about polo. We've got a great guest on today, Edward Armstrong. He is the director of clubs and tournaments of the US Polo Association, and Ed's going to be talking to us about polo in America today, a little bit of history, a little bit of what's going on with the polo. I don't want to call it an industry, but the sport, with the sport of polo. And yeah, I'm interested to hear what Edward has to say about this.
Cool. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I know polo is something that you have right down the street from you every year.
Yes, we literally right down the street.
We've gone and seen polo with you a couple times, actually.
Yeah,
we've tailgated.
It's a lot of fun. Actually, it's a lot of fun. It's a great spectator sport.
It is. I think it's becoming. I was chatting with Ed a little bit, and we'll talk about this, but it is becoming a little bit. He said that definitely attendance is growing as far as the spectators for polo is definitely growing in America. And I know that when we used to go watch polo there at Myopia years ago, there weren't half the number of people there are now. It's truly non-horsey people are coming out to watch polo.
I've been up in this area for close to 12 years now, and when I talk to some of the old-timers from the area, they say even 20 years ago, 20, 25 years ago, maybe even 30 years ago, that the polo matches were superbly attended. It was the thing to do, the place to be. It was so much fun. It was actually kind of low key. It wasn't, hoity-toity. It was really sort of grab your grill and tailgate and go watch the polo matches. But then that did sort of fall off, and spectators started dwindling, and now we're starting to see a little bit of a resurgence in spectators for the sport. So I'm hoping that it continues to go that way because, it's just fun. It's fast. It's exciting. You can sit and you can eat. Anytime you can watch horses and eat at the same time, I'm so happy.
Well, anytime you can drive your car up to the edge of the field. I mean, that's how cool is that?
Yeah.
It's really neat. The first time we saw polo, my wife and I, we happened to be taking our first trip to Kentucky, to Lexington, and we went, this was like 15 years ago, and we went to the Kentucky Horse Park, and that day happened to be the National Polo Championship game. So we just stumbled on it that day, and we ended up watching the National Championship polo game. That was our first polo game we ever saw.
You were hooked ever since?
Oh, yeah, it was fun. I mean, I love stomping divots.
I do too. I do too. And Grace loves it. It's something the kids can do. They feel so important. And you don't have to worry about spilling your drink.
That's right. Bring your drink with you. It's allowed. So, and then on a little bit sadder note, I think before we get to Ed and we talk about polo, we'd be severely remiss in not mentioning a hero of my wife's and yours who passed away a couple days ago, actually, and that's Sally Swift.
Yes, that's a loss to the community.
I think a lot of people were surprised she was still alive because she was almost 96.
God bless her.
She was 3 weeks away from reaching her 96th birthday, and Sally Swift, of course, is known in all over the world for her centered riding program. and she had a couple books out called Centered Riding and Centered Riding. Was it Centered Riding 2 or Beyond? Something like that. They
Yeah,
both
well,
had
I've got centered
in it.
riding by my bedside. It's all beat up and
Yeah.
dog-eared, and yeah, it's
My wife is definitely, a believer, as you know, because you took lessons from my wife. She's a believer in centered riding,
Yep.
and in everything that Sally really taught. She got to meet Sally a couple times, and that was the thrill of her life. Sally, actually, just to talk a little bit about her, because I think it deserves the little bit of time here that we can give. I did try and get somebody on from her foundation, but it was bad timing here, I think.
sure.
She was born on April 20th, 1913, so she was about 96, and she was born in Hingham, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
Not too far from
A
here.
true Yankee.
Yeah, that's right. And she was known all over the world for centered riding, and she authored, here's the two books. It was Centered Riding and Centered Riding 2, Further Explorations, which together have sold more than 860,000 copies. So this is a very popular, for a horse book, that's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost platinum if it was a record. So, in August of 2006, Sally Swift was inducted into the United States Dressage Federation's Hall of Fame. And in June of 2008, she was presented with the 7th Annual Equine Industry Vision Award by Pfizer Animal Health and American Horse Publications. And the award recognizes innovation, ingenuity, and services across the entire equine market. It was funny because at the age of 7, she was diagnosed with scoliosis, and she had a curvature of the spine.
Yep.
And she worked for many years with a lady named Mabel Ellsworth Todd. And she was the author of a book back then called The Thinking Body. And she believed that you can control parts of your body with your mind. She's not the only one that has believed
Imagine that.
Yeah, no, that's right. And that you could control those parts of the body with your mind when you couldn't control them with physical movement.
Mm-hmm.
So she used the concepts of her work to really develop the 4 basics of centered riding, and that's where centered riding came from. But what a lot of people don't know is she actually worked for 21 years. Her real job was she worked for the Holstein Association of America.
Yeah, she graduated from Cornell with a BS in agriculture, so she was no stranger to farm life.
Right. And it was only after she retired from that, and later in her life, actually, that she began teaching lessons. I think the rate was like she started at, $10 or something per lesson. She never advertised. All her teaching spread by word of mouth. She never advertised. And before long,
she's made a disciple out of Jen, who then passed it along to me. I mean, this is stuff like that is going down generations and generations from rider to rider, from
Right.
mentor to student.
Correct. Yes, it just
That's how centered riding came to be. It was her personal program for herself. And she just started teaching her friends. And when something is that revolutionary, it's really quite simple.
right.
And so it's easy to teach, it's easy to learn, it's easy to believe in. And I think when you have that kind of passion and that kind of simplicity, it's going to spread the way centered riding did.
Well, we encourage everybody to, if you haven't gotten her books yet, you should. And that's Centered Riding and Centered Riding 2. You can find them on Amazon. We'll put a link in our show notes. And we give the best to her family and everybody there. Everybody at the Centered Riding, I think it's the Centered Riding Foundation. I'm not sure exactly what it's called. But they're all, I'm sure they're all very sad today. They've lost we've all lost a valuable person in the horse community, and our best to all of them.
Yeah. So go out and buy those books. They're still in print, and learn it and live it, and then pass it along to somebody you know. And then I think Sally Swift's philosophy and her legacy will live on.
Oh, I'm sure it will. That's not ending because it's good. So.
Yep.
All right, from Sally Swift, we want to just take a minute and talk to you about our friends at Equestrian Collections. We do these shows for your benefit so that you can have something cool, horsey to listen to, and something that we hope is fun. So far, the feedback's been very good, but we could not do these shows without our sponsors. Helene and I do we joke about not making any money, but occasionally we do like to make a little bit of money. So this show is actually brought to you by Equestrian Collections, which brings the whole universe of equine shopping to your fingertips. If you missed last week's episode, stop by there and listen to it. We had Chris on talking a little bit about Equestrian Collections. Every day the site is calibrated to show you all the products from each major equestrian brand that's available that particular day. And any given day, they don't pick and choose products for you. They're all there. And any given day, as we said earlier, they have over $100 million of products for you to choose from. And we know riding and taking care of your horse takes up lots of time, so they're open 24/7, and you obviously on the website there, and you can find exactly what you need. It's easy to shop around their website, and they have a beautiful website. She hires 3 different graphic artists, and you can tell. I mean, their emails are beautiful, and their website's beautiful. So we're thrilled, or they're thrilled actually to be sponsoring our show, and we're thrilled to have them. And they're going to be doing lots of exclusive coupons, offers, and news for us, just exclusively here for the Stable Scoop Show. And one of the first things is we have a $10 off coupon. It's $10 off on any order of over $120. And you can click and see their, you can actually, the coupon code is SCOOP1. So when you go to their site and you buy something, you can get $10 off an order over $120 by using the coupon code SCOOP1. Now, this is only good for a couple more days. It's good through the 14th of April. So stop by now, use that coupon code, and get your savings.
That's at equestriancollections.com.
That's correct. And they also have a coupon and deals book there. All of their stuff that's on sale, you can apply the coupon to. So you can go to their sale department as well, and they have tons of stuff in there too.
Oh, nice. So even if something's on sale, you can apply the $10 off.
She's doing good by Stable Scoop, by our show.
Yeah.
So we appreciate her a lot and thank her for support of the Stable Scoop radio show. Well, let's get to our guest. Let's get Ed on. He's the Director of Clubs and Tournaments for the United States Polo Association, and we want to talk to him a little bit about polo in America today, where it's at, where it's going. Hi, Ed. Thanks for coming on the Stable Scoop radio show with us today.
Glad to be here.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's fun. Helene and I both thoroughly enjoy polo. We've been actually to many polo matches together up at Myopia Hunt Club there in Massachusetts. And we've stomped a few divots together with wine in hand. So,
Ed, are you from up this way, Ed, or are you
Yes,
from this
I am.
area?
I was born and raised on the North Shore of Boston.
well,
I'm not going to have a Kentucky accent, so you'll be able to
no, I
tell.
can tell that.
That's okay. We won't hold it against you.
Now, the
Okay.
the Polo Association, rather, United States Polo Association, is in Kentucky, though. You're at the horse park, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yep. Okay, so you and there's no more beautiful place to have an association than at the horse park.
No, it is. It's very nice, especially now in spring. Everything's green and it's looking good.
Except for all the construction noise around for the last couple
Right.
of months. That should be ending soon. Well,
So let's cover a couple of the basics about polo, because while I'm a big fan and Glenn's a big fan, we really don't know a whole heck of a lot about the details of the game. So tell us a little bit about the history of polo and maybe the Reader's Digest version of what a layman would see when they're watching a match.
Okay. Well, the current wisdom feels that the game started about 2,300 years ago in China and Persia, in the eastern world, and as the English sort of made their way around the world, they discovered it, and the English were always horsemen, and so they adopted the game and played it through the 1800s. And in the late 1800s, there was a gentleman, I believe, from New York, James Gordon Bennett, who was publisher, who was in England and saw the army officers playing polo and thought that was a neat thing to do, so he brought it back to the United States, and they started over here in the like I say, the 1880s, I believe, and this association was formed in 1890.
oh wow! So I didn't realize the association was that old.
Yeah, and the way we have a pretty complete set of our rule books and blue books is what they're called, and they go right back to the beginning. And it was a very small group, but it was spread out around the country: Pennsylvania, New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and that's mostly the Northeast because that's where the population centers were. And early on, it became popular in California and Texas, and it was the association was formed, I believe, to sort of regulate. Now that they started to get more serious about polo, and challenge each other to matches and so forth. They wanted the playing field to be level, so they created a set of rules and tournaments, and started to get organized. And really, it was a very small group, but they saw that the value of being an organized group, and that's the way it was for many, many years.
So now you're the director of clubs and tournaments. What exactly are your duties?
Well, anything to do with a club. If you want to start it, we'll lead through that process and tell you what you need and what you should have. And but moving on to club development, we will help you figure out how to grow your club if that's what you intend to do. It dovetails nicely with tournaments because we offer USPA tournaments from a very low level right on up to the US Open, which is the highest level of polo played in the United States. So depending on what kind of club, what kind of players you have there are tournaments that suit every club, and we can help you figure that out. And sometimes to the smaller clubs, USPA tournaments can seem intimidating and a big undertaking, but what we find is that once they do it, they see that it's not so bad, and it gives their club credibility. We've got some awards to give out. It's a good enticement for new members to see that they're part of the national organization. And so the two departments, clubs and tournaments, sort of dovetail well to all help promote the sport and increase membership and make clubs more successful.
What does a club consist of exactly?
Well, the bare minimum is you must have 3 player members, and you've got to have access to or own a field or an arena or someplace to play. You've got
So
to
it's
pay
not
your
a club
dues.
isn't a team, is it?
No.
Or is it is it several teams that play within a club?
Yeah, and each club sort of organizes, the best way that it suits them. Some clubs are very tight knit, and there's several teams that play amongst each other, and then they'll travel or host other teams. And other clubs are pretty much the facilities, and they'll have a lot of professionals come in and a lot of teams from around the country. But Florida has a lot of clubs that teams from around the country and around the world will convene there, and this time of year compete against each other at a very high level. But in terms of the club, there's not so much the camaraderie of membership of a club. It's sort of that club hosts those events. Whereas there are other clubs around the country and in Florida as well who have sort of the same people and families and so forth that belong to the club, and they belong there year after year, and they play their games there, and they're part of the club, and they help to do everything, manage the club and fix things and buy things and improve things and that sort of thing. So there's different levels of it, but each club is its own entity, and within that club there'll be teams.
Well, how many members are on a team?
In outdoor polo on the grass, there's 4 members on a team.
Okay.
In indoor polo that's played in an arena on dirt, there's 3 members of a team.
Now, are there actually more members on the team, and then they substitute in and out? Is it like hockey that way, or?
Not so much like that. I mean, there is unlimited substitution. Each player is rated, so the substitution is limited to substituting a player that's qualified of a similar rating, because each match is handicapped as well. So, but typically you won't have 6 people playing on a 3-man team or 8 on a 4-man team, but that does happen sometimes in the lower levels of polo.
And how is a match played? Now, the first thing you have to learn about polo is what the heck a chukker is.
The chukker is nothing more than a period in hockey or a quarter in football. It's just a time frame. It's 7.5 minutes in the arena and 7 minutes on the field. That is the running time. That's the clock. And that's not how long it will take if you're a spectator, because there is stops for fouls or out of bounds or injury or that sort of thing.
Right. So 7 minutes of play at a time. And within
Right.
that 7 minutes of play, are you able to make those you're saying you're able to make any amount of substitutions you want or need to?
Yeah, between chukkers,
Oh, in
it's
between
not like,
chuckers. Okay.
right. It's not like basketball when you just go to the bench and you tell them you're coming in, and when time is out, they buzz you in. You have to substitute at the end of a chukker. Or if say a player was injured and continue, or for any other reason, he was exhausted or for whatever reason, he could stand down and another player could take his place, but it has to be during very specific times.
Okay.
So how many horses does a player use in a game?
That again varies greatly by your goal level. Now, the kind of polo that a lot of people play in this country, they can play 4 to 6 chukkers on 3 to 6 horses. But typically at the higher levels, they'll have at least 6 and probably 8 or 10 horses to play a 6 chukker game.
Wow.
So what's happened now is the horsepower has gotten so competitive that many players will switch once per twice per chukker. So they may be playing less than 12 horses, but they're playing them in split chukkers so that they're as fresh as can be. And if speed becomes a factor, then you've got a good fresh horse under you that can make the difference in a high stakes game.
I imagine it's like any other thing where I imagine even the professionals have their favorite horses that they save for that end of the game or that kind of thing. You must have your favorites.
Absolutely. Horse soul and your timing and all that sort of thing, the higher level you go in polo is very, very important. If 2 like players are on 2 similar horses and one gets the opportunity to switch and the other one doesn't, you can see a marked difference in that player that has had the opportunity to switch horses. So it's critical. And as you say, your favorite horse is a horse that you really like to play, that you know what you can get done on them, and virtually every professional player knows which horse he would prefer to be on. In the 6th chukker, when all the cards are on the table in a close game, you want to be on your most comfortable and your most performing horse.
So
yeah,
when you have, sorry, when you have a match, who actually considers this strategy? Which horses to use at which point in the match, and is there sort of a coach, or is each member of the team responsible for playing out their own strategy with their horses? And
sort of coaching is growing in the sport, and at the higher levels, sometimes the coach will coordinate, what plays they make and that sort of thing. They will help with that situation, but generally, most professional players, and most players in general, know their own horses and can generally make the best selections about how to do that. But coaching is growing in the sport, and I don't think it's the major function of coaching, but I'm definitely sure that it's part of it and probably will become more part of it. But the player has the intimate knowledge of what he can get done on his own horses, and
right.
Typically a coach, I think, would probably say, well, I want you on your best horse in the 6th chukker, or we want to leave at halftime ahead, so play your best horse in the 3rd chukker, or that type of thing, and the player will sort of make the actual decision about which horse he wants on.
Now, you mentioned professionals. Are there actually paid professional polo players?
Yes, but they're paid by the team sponsor. There's a lot of gentlemen and ladies in the country who will assemble a team of which they are generally a part of, that will hire 1, 2, or 3 professionals to play with them. So the professional in that sense, we don't have a league that's paying anyone, or it's not.
Right.
It's not in that same vein as an NFL.
So they're
team
not
or
making
that sort of
$60 million a year playing polo.
I don't know of anybody that's making that much, but they're very
Not playing polo anyway.
No,
well, there's people in polo that are making that much, but they're not making that much playing polo. That's the thing. But there are some very highly paid professionals, and their salaries are private and they're not disclosed
right.
to
I
us.
understand that.
But a lot of times there's combination deals between playing in tournaments and the sponsor buying horses for the rest of his team and himself. And so there are people. I mean, I wouldn't suggest to a young kid starting out that being a polo pro is a viable thing, because it'll happen if the person has talent, and obviously it's a good thing. We want to encourage people to do that if that's the way to go. But it's not that big of a field, so it's a very competitive and very difficult way to make a living unless you're at the very top end of the game.
Well,
Do you?
go ahead.
Sorry. Do you find then that that polo is increasing in popularity among mainstream, well, the world in general, because it is a global sport? Number one, among just regular people, and then number two, among horse people. Has its popularity grown?
It's gaining notoriety and popularity among people in different ways. I mean, our membership had a peak over 4,000 3 years ago, and it's dropped back down a few hundred. And with its economy, it may drop more. But so in terms of people playing the games, I can't honestly tell you that it's growing by leaps and bounds. But certainly among fans and among other horse people, it's getting a lot more notoriety. It's getting more presented to the public in sponsorships of mainstream sort of companies. It is becoming more and more commonplace. So it is gaining popularity, which we hope that that will come around to increase membership in clubs around the country among other horse people, which is always a target audience because they understand what it takes to feed and maintain horses, but among other peoples as well.
Which is why that $60 million salary is kind of important if your horse eats like mine does.
Yeah, I think that's a barrier to entry, obviously, is the number of horses, I would assume.
Well, but let me take you to the medium and lower levels of polo. Can be done on a budget that's no more expensive than certainly any of the other horse disciplines, and probably as economical as other sports like boating or sailing or RVing. I mean, with the cost of fuel and the cost of machines and places to stay, that's not cheap either in itself. So, but the average person, if they want to play and they can own at least two horses, I would say, would get them into the game at a level that would give them plenty of recreation for the dollar. Some of the smaller clubs will accommodate people that have 2-3 horses and mix them into a game, and that's the time you may see 7 or 8 players on a 4-man team, because you've got people with 2 horses that can come in for 2 to 4 chukkers. And they just, I come from a club where we did that a lot, and would sort of have the whole sheet out there and figuring out who's got what and divvying them up according to their strengths and who's got how many chukkers and all that sort of thing. And with a little bit of work in the beginning, you end up having a pretty nice afternoon of fun, and not everybody is in it for the top dollar. So,
right.
And the top horses, again, to be competitive and get the salaries and get the prices for the horses that you want to get, a professional needs to spend a lot of money on horses, and the upkeep and training is expensive. But to get on a horse and swing a mallet and play polo, you don't have to have a very, very expensive horse. You can use a nice, calm, riding horse and teach them how to play, or get some that have played at higher levels that are now sort of retired down to a less stressful life. And it's a great way for us to sort of recycle our stock down from a more demanding schedule down to an easier schedule where they're playing at a lower level, and the demands aren't as high on them physically.
What kinds of horses are
good? That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Is there a breed that's any better than another?
Well, the all-around best horse is the thoroughbred because of stamina and intelligence and speed. But there are all sorts of other. I mean, there's no definition. It's a horse or pony of any breed or size is quoted from our rule book, and you'll see quarter horses, you'll see quarter horse thoroughbred crosses, you'll see you don't see a lot of Arabian. Bet you they're out there.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, I mean they use Arabians for endurance riding, so they've got the
They
stamina.
think too
But
much.
Yeah, but it's that whole mallet flying in their face thing.
They
Yeah.
think too much. They're good self-preservationists.
yeah, well, and a lot of people think thoroughbreds are that flighty, but they, and they can be. They
You
certainly
do see
can
a lot
be.
of thoroughbreds, though, don't you? I see.
But
There's a
do.
little bit of a
Yeah.
different work ethic between the Arabs and the thoroughbreds.
Yeah, yeah, no, but no breed. I mean, I've got a paint, that's sort of. I know he's got some thoroughbred in him, but he's obviously got some quarter horse in him, and he's great, And I've got others that are straight thoroughbreds, and
You don't see very many draft breeds playing polo. There's really not
Probably
very many
not.
Percherons out there. No.
That would be fun,
No.
though. That would be my
be
club.
fun? That would be a fun exhibition game, wouldn't it?
yeah,
There you go.
Remedial
That would
polo.
that would be funny.
sure.
Well,
We
let's
need
go
to
back.
sponsor that.
I want to
Helena.
know a little bit about the mallets. I took one polo lesson and I loved it, except it was really hard to. The mallets are very heavy. I found them very heavy, and swinging them is not as easy as you might think. Tell me a little bit about that in terms of what kind of physical presence the sport requires from the rider.
Well, the mallets, and of course, if you take one lesson and you're using the instructor's equipment, and maybe the lighter mallets were already taken or whatever, but you can find mallets that are lighter. Now, they're not going to be. There's going to be an adjustment period, so you do need to build up your arm strength to be able to manage a mallet, properly. And there's techniques for holding the mallet to reduce the fatigue when you're not using it and that sort of thing. But you should be fit so that you can handle the equipment, handle the horse. Your legs, are something that you need to develop the right kind of strength in, and it helps you to get better suited to the game other than practice. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes.
Right.
You can't become a good rider if you don't ride. You can't become a good hitter if you don't swing the mallet. And I'm not surprised at your impression after one lesson, because that your arm is not used to swinging a 50-inch, 52-inch piece of wood, and it uses muscles that have not been used in that way. So, but it's something that most people can overcome.
That leads to the question: if somebody's interested in getting involved in polo, how do they get started?
Well, start by calling the association if there's not a local club, and we can try to find a club in their area that they can work with. There's polo schools all around the country, so they can use us as a resource. They can also go to our website, which is www.uspolo.org, and click on clubs and find a club anywhere in the United States. We have their websites, their emails, and phone numbers, and everything that's available to us we have on the website. And most clubs are looking to maintain and grow their membership, and they're very helpful in terms of helping you get started. If it's not something they have, they probably know of someone in their area they can hook you up with. So it's a pretty good network of information to tap. And as I say, they're always welcome to call us at 800-232-USPA.
But I want to mention to our international listeners as well that there's polo associations all over the world, so you could check out your local polo association as well.
Yes, you can. Yeah, there's some of them are very active, some of them not so much, but there are many, and we have resources there too. So if you're listening from another country and you don't know where to get in touch with someone in your country, then you can send us an email through our website or give us a call, and we'll do the best we can to help you find something.
Oh, that's great.
Well, there is my two favorite loves are horses, and at one time was lacrosse. And I used to joke that if there was any way that I could combine those two loves, I would be the happiest person in the world. And apparently there is. Does polo cross come under your jurisdiction at all? Tell us about that.
Polo cross does not come under our designation. They have their own organization, and it is very basically a combination of lacrosse and riding. You use it. I don't know very much about it, but you do use a wicker stick, like you do in lacrosse, and you throw the ball to each other and that sort of thing. And it seems to be fairly static. It's a activity that they do at the pony clubs, and it promotes coordination and
It's very popular actually with the pony clubs.
yeah.
Kids love that.
Well, it does. It
Yeah,
has that
well,
same kind of,
Yeah.
fast-moving hockey, polo, soccer type of. There's a game, there's a strategy. There's a team effort there, and it's fast. It's
hmm
yeah.
So do you see any of, or is there a hope that by all of these kids through Pony Club playing polo cross that they'll eventually get into polo?
Well, we do a lot of clinics around the country at individual pony clubs and 4-H clubs and things like that, and pretty successful with that. We also have a wonderful collegiate and scholastic program and a junior program that's responsible for introducing young kids to polo, and we have a similar response as the polo cross does with the kids. It's kids that love horses. They do anything they can with a horse, and we've been pretty good at soliciting people to do that. Pony Club has a fixed amount of events that they have, and at this point, polo cross is it. But in England, for example, there's a ton of kids who go through the polo training program at the pony clubs in England, and so we use every opportunity we can to introduce polo to kids, and we do that partially through the Polo Training Foundation, which is a sister group to our association that's involved in raising funds for training kids to play polo, kids, adults, and anyone who wants to try it. So that's, but yeah, we do clinics with all types of groups around the country.
Great. I wanted to ask you too. Just came out last week, and I don't know if you know much about it, and I didn't quite understand what it's going to do for everybody, but that the Polo basically signed what's called a memorandum of understanding with the FEI. What was that meant to accomplish?
Well, that was done through the Federation of International Polo, which is its own group that manages some international tournaments around the country, and they serve to help countries who don't have a strong association with things. We have actually made our own inquiries into the World Games here in Lexington. I did it myself with an application process and meeting people here who are involved. And what we're trying to do there is there are some opportunities for exhibition equestrian sports during the World Games in 2010, and would very much like to work with our local clubs to put on some demonstration games so that people of other disciplines from around the world can see what American polo looks like. And so I think they're just helping to get that done.
Well, that's great. I tell you what, I encourage anybody, if there's polo in your area, definitely stop out, see a game. It's usually cheap. It's like $10 a carload or something like that. You can, in many of the fields, one of the coolest things about polo is you back your car up to the field, and you have your tailgating right there. They encourage eating and drinking and having fun on the sidelines. We were joking about, we maybe should explain that for somebody who hasn't seen a polo match. We were joking about stomping divots, which almost sounds bawdy, but it's really not. It's in between chukkers. You go out there and, or at halftime. Is it halftime?
It's halftime.
Halftime, you go out there and you stomp down all the divots that the polo players have made, and that's encouraged. All the fans go out there to do that, and it's kind of a fun thing. And not all of the polo matches, but some of them, people get dressed up in their fancy hats, and in some of them, it kind of looks like you're at the Kentucky Derby.
Right.
And for true horse geeks, it is really cool to watch the equine athletes. It's so much fun to watch their bodies working and to see their training and to see them perform. There is no, to me, it's just such an awe-inspiring, impressive performance of equine athleticism. Your mouth will be open. It's pretty cool. Although you don't want to leave it open because.
And you know what? You know what else I find cool about the atmosphere is you're sitting there in your lawn chair beside your car, and you've had your picnic lunch. It's the sound of the hoofbeats when they're all flying down the field at the same time.
Yeah.
That sound, there's nothing like that sound. I mean, racing, you don't get that because it's all done on dirt, and you don't feel it like you do in polo.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's
get out
our
there and go
opinion.
watch a match, everybody.
Thanks,
United
Ed,
States
for
Polo
joining us.
Association. Go to us-polo.org.
And thanks,
Right.
Ed, for joining us. We appreciate you being on the show.
Well, thanks for having me. Take care.
Hey, that was pretty cool. That was Ed gave me some information I didn't know about. Like maybe I should try a second polo lesson.
Yeah, that's right. With a lighter mallet.
That lesson was over a year ago, and my arm is still sore.
It's sort of like when you take up bowling. You really don't want the 20-pound ball the first time you go out. Maybe start with the 12-pound ball.
No. Well, everybody, I definitely encourage you to get out and watch a polo match because, as Glenn said, it is great fun.
Just the feeling about doing it's just on a beautiful day. There's nothing better than sitting there drinking your wine, eating your bologna and cheese, and watching polo go by.
Yeah, your bologna and cheese.
That's right.
And chicken salad.
Okay.
All right. And now I'm very happy to say we got some feedback. We have an email from a gal named Amanda who talked a little bit about, or she sent us a nice little message. She writes, "Hi there. I just wanted to suggest some horsey blogs of the week. I really like Behind the Bit, www.behindthebit.blogspot.com, and we'll put a link to that in our show notes." She writes, "Stacy does a good job of finding interesting things to write about, and I enjoy reading her posts. I also really like Esther Garvey. Her blog is not totally about her horses, but an interesting take on riding when you live in sub-Saharan Africa. I enjoy your show and look forward to more episodes." That's Amanda from Victoria. I think that's British Columbia, Canada,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So thank you, Amanda.
I'm just looking up here. The second one she talked about, the girl from Africa, actually does have a horse, I think, and she blogs from Africa. And she lives there, and she has the best pictures and most beautiful stuff on her site. If you just go to ishtarnews.blogspot.com, that's ISHTAR news.blogspot.com, and she talks about more than just her horses, because she talks about her life living in sub-Saharan Africa, and it's just a fascinating thing to follow. So you want to check that one out as well.
So, now, did you know about that before Amanda sent in her email, or were you?
Yes, I was familiar with that, and I'm also familiar with Behind the Bit is a very popular blog site for the horse world. A lot of people read Behind the Bit, and we're going to try and get both of them on. I would love to get Esther on from Africa sometime on the show. I do know she has access to phone, so we're gonna try and get that arranged. I think that would be a fun show in itself. Just talking to her about that, wouldn't it? I have 1,000 questions about that. So we also want to mention our other shows, and thank you for the email there, Amanda. And we encourage everybody to write to us at geeks, GEEKS, @horseradionetwork.com. Just send us an email anytime about anything. Show recommendations, or whether you like the show or hate it, we want to hear from you. Not so much if you hate it, but...
Yeah, not so much if you hate it. You can say it nicely, like, "I'd prefer you didn't..." I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not even going to give you
Glenn wasn't
suggestions.
on it.
Come up with your own ideas to bash us. I'm not going to help you out.
All right. We'd like to promote our other two shows that we do on the network. We have the Eventing Radio Show. This week we had our food episode with Sharon Thompson of the Lexington Herald-Leader. She's a food writer. She also wrote a book called Tastes of Kentucky. And we talked about food and what there is to eat in Lexington. And Chris and I recommended restaurants to eat at when you come to Rolex. So that was our What to Eat at Rolex episode. And also the 2010 radio show, we started our Chatting with the Champions series, and what we're doing is speaking with past champions of World Equestrian Games. And this week we had Megan Benjamin, the gold medal vaulter. She was the first U.S. female to win a gold medal ever at the World Games in vaulting. So we had her on. She's a sweetheart. She's in college, like 21, 22 years old. She was 18 when she won her gold medal at the last World Equestrian Games, and she loves vaulting, and she's a big advocate for the sport and was a lot of fun to chat with.
Cool.
What do we have next week, Helena?
I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. Next week, I can only think like 22 hours ahead.
Yeah, I know.
Next week we have Morgans. I think one of the things we're going to be trying to do is introduce the Stable Scoop listeners to not only of a variety of topics and horse disciplines, but on a variety of breeds. And, if you kind of look for the mutts and you like the mixed breeds, there's still a lot of horses are very true to their breed type. And, just like when you're looking for a dog, you want to find a horse breed whose type fits what you want to do with them and fits your personality. So we're going to try and introduce you to some breeds you know about and some breeds you've never heard about. Next week, we're going to talk about Morgans.
That'll be great.
Yeah, that was the long way of saying next week is Morgans. Sorry,
Morgan
people. This is why I have my own radio show, so I can blab.
That's right. And the show notes, our show notes of all the links from today, which we have a ton of, can be found at stablescoop.com. We really don't expect you to remember them all. And also, you can leave us feedback on a voicemail line at 270-803-0025.
Or send more email to geeks@horseradionetwork.com.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Equestrian Collections, and all the good people over there. Check out all the stuff they have at equestriancollections.com. Don't forget the coupon code SCOOP1. When you check out, you get $10 off your order of $120 or more, good through April 14th. Helena, we'll see you again next week as we talk about Morgans.
We'll be back with the scoop.